Hello everyone, it's Jennifer. Much like many of you out there, I am sick right now, so I apologize if my voice is a little off. However, I wanted to share with you a no bulk shaker card idea. So if you really like the look of shaker cards but don't like that added bulk that sometimes doesn't make it through mailing okay, this could be a good option for you. It's actually like a window shaker card, so you can actually see through this into the card, but you could just put a solid backing if you want to. Now this card has lots of tips and tricks along the way, and I'll be sure to share them all with you. And I also used some of my extras to create a second card, which I'll show you at the end of the video. Let's go ahead and get started. I actually have this little sketch and some ideas written down. Sometimes I think of things when I don't have time to create, and I just like to sketch them down and write little notes with it so I remember to do it later. I'm using this die set from W+9. What I really like about it is it has 3 dies on the outside there, 3 frame dies. 2 of them just do stitched lines so they don't cut all the way through. It's just a nice finishing touch. But the one in the center, the middle one, actually cuts through. So you can get a finished stitch line on both sides of it or cut them apart if you want to. I'm just going to leave them connected for this card. I have a silver shimmer note card here, and I'm going to cut this from the front of this note card. So I'm just using my Big Shot here, but you could use whatever die cut machine you have. I'm just trying to center this on the front of the note card as much as I can. The magnetic platform that I have there on my Big Shot really helps with keeping this in place so I don't have to tape it in place when I run it through, and I can make sure that it stays nice and centered. Okay, now this piece here I'm going to save for that second card later, and I'm just going to use the note card for this card. Now for the next piece, I need a piece of white cardstock that is cut slightly smaller than a note card, so I did 4 by 5.5. It's just a piece of white cardstock, and from this I'm going to also cut the same frame, and this is going to go on the inside of our card to kind of hide our shaker window. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this now. You can see it goes nicely there on the inside, and we'll add that a little bit later on, but I wanted to have it done while we were doing that die cutting. It is now time to add the clear piece onto our window. For this, I'm using a super strong double-sided tape. This is Be Creative tape, but any kind of strong adhesive would work here. I'm going to put 4 pieces of this around the frame here that we have on the inside of our card. Now, this is a great double-sided tape, and I like that it's super narrow, so you can use it for lots of things. Now once I have this done, I'm going to remove the release paper and put 1 piece of acetate down onto it, a clear piece that is slightly smaller than our note card. This will serve as the front of our window, the front of our shaker card window. Now you could use scrap acetate, clear transparencies, anything you want, and I'll link to a few different options in my YouTube description below. Now that we have this window here, I need to prepare what I'm going to put on the front of the card, what will be on this acetate, which includes some stamping and some die cut pieces. Let's go ahead and first do the die cut pieces so we can stamp around it, and we're going to do that sparkle that you see in the center there. I want to give it some dimension. I'm going to be using a super thin double-sided tape called Stick It. I've been using this quite often in my recent videos, and I actually have a piece of white fun foam that has some dimension to it, so it's just some foam. And I'm going to put this double-sided tape on both sides of that fun foam. This way it'll be sticky on both sides after we die cut it, so we can stick it to our card and also put some glitter paper on top of it. Okay, so what you see me doing here is putting some of this Stick It on the back side of the fun foam. I'm just cutting away any of the extra. Now I'm coming with another piece of Stick It and putting it on the other side of the foam. Now I know you can buy fun foam or this white foam with adhesive already on the back, but I found that sometimes that extra adhesive is so thick it's hard to die cut through. And this Stick It is very thin, so it's easier to die cut through. So I'm just kind of cutting around here and saving all my little extra pieces, and I keep them in that clear folder that you saw me have all this in earlier, and it's just a great way to keep it organized. Okay, so now I have white foam with double-sided tape on both sides. Now I have this die from W+9 that says Sparkle. I'm just going to go ahead and run this through my die cut machine. It die cuts nicely without a shim, but if it doesn't die cut nicely for you, you might want to add a shim in. One shim that you could use is the metal shim from Memory Box. You can see it's underneath my cutting plate right there. Or you can use some shims of cardstock if you need to. But I'm going to go ahead and cut a few of these because I'm going to save the extras for another card. Now when you die cut this fun foam, it will flatten it out, but it does pop back up over time. I'm also going to go ahead and die cut the word shine for that extra bonus card I told you about. The sparkle and shine dies come together. Now I also want to put gold glitter paper on the top of those die cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut the words from gold paper too. Now I could have put the gold paper on and die cut that and the foam together, but it was actually too thick to cut through all of that with the dies. But it may depend on what papers you use or what die cut machine you use, so it's definitely worth trying. But I found it was better for me if I cut the double-sided foam and this glitter paper separately and stuck them together later. So the foam die cuts will give some dimension to these gold die cuts that you see here. So let's go ahead and put this all together and do the stamping too. This stamp set is from W+9. You see that grading that says you leave a little sparkle wherever you go? I want to stamp that but not stamp the word sparkle, so I can use my die cut instead. So I went ahead and cut the word sparkle out of it. I can always mount it as originally intended and use it that way, but this just gives it more life. So now I have my two parts of the greeting, and I'm using my little die cut there as a spacer as I kind of plan where my stamps will be. So I've arranged them onto the front of the window where I want them, using the grid line behind it to kind of guide me, the grid line on my work surface. And then I transferred them to the acrylic block, and now I know that they're perfectly positioned where I want them, with space in the center for my die cut. I'm inking up my stamp with my black StazOn ink, which is great for stamping onto acetate. And I'm using, again, the grid line on my work surface to kind of make sure I'm doing this straight. I'm stamping it right on the acetate. Now you'll notice that I didn't do a great job stamping. So I wanted to kind of start over here. I like the spacing, but I didn't do a good job stamping. The nice thing about StazOn and acetate is you just use an alcohol swab and you can wipe it clean and then clean it off with a baby wipe, and you're good to go to do it again. I love it. I wish I could do this on paper. So now I'm just going to try again, and I'm going to stamp it one more time with my black StazOn ink, and it goes much better that time. Now I'm going to give this a little bit of time to dry because I don't want to mess it up. Now it's time to add the word sparkle. Remember, this is just some foam with double-sided tape on both sides. So I'm going to remove the release paper from the back side of this and add it onto our window. Now if you wanted to not have this dimension here on your die cut word, you could just die cut the gold glitter paper from this word sparkle from gold glitter paper and glue that right onto your window, and then you just wouldn't have the dimension. So now that this is positioned exactly where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and take off the release paper from the top of the die cut. Now I can add my gold die cut right on top of this, and it'll have some great dimension. Now one thing with this Stick It double-sided adhesive is I found that it sticks much better if you press it firmly. So once you have everything where you want it, you want to press it down very firmly to make sure it stays. This is kind of a good feature because you can kind of move things around until you're really happy with where it is. So now I'm just lining the gold die cut on top of that white, and I like that you can kind of see the white from the sides, and it looks nice and perfect because it really gives some dimension to your die cut and also makes it look like a standalone embellishment instead of something that you just made yourself. Now it's time to get the back of our shaker window together. So I have another piece of acetate cut to the same size as the one from before, just slightly smaller than our note card, and I'm laying it in place over the window just so I know where to put my double-sided tape. So I am going to put double-sided tape all around all four sides here. Now you'll notice I'm going to actually double up the double-sided tape. So there's kind of two lines on each side of the frame. This is because I want to make sure that none of the goodies that we add to the inside of our shaker window come out. So I just decided to do a little bit extra here. So now I have the double-sided tape on the back side of the window, and we're just going to set that aside now that it's ready to go. Now it's the fun part, and that's adding the fun little bits on the inside of the shaker card. I found these sequins from Martha Stewart, and I love them. They actually have a few different colors in the set, and there are stars and hearts in each of the colors. So I'm using the clear here. It's got a little bit of color to it, and the stars, and I'm just shaking some of those onto the window that you see here. Now I'm going to kind of move them around a little bit, and I'm going to add a few other things into here. Now one thing to keep in mind is this doesn't have the dimension of a regular shaker card, so it's not going to shake as much, but I actually think it's a good thing. It still moves around, but you don't end up having all of your little bits falling to the bottom of the card when you hold it upright, so I actually think this is a little bit better. Now I am using some little confettis from Pretty Pink Posh. There are silver and gold stars and silver and gold hearts. I have these, and I'm just putting a few of them in the shaker window. I don't like too much in my shaker cards, or I think it's a little bit too distracting. And be sure that all your pieces are in the inside of the window so that when you put tape down, you don't kind of get stuck to any of those pieces. So now we can remove the release paper from our other piece of acetate, and we're going to take this and lay this directly on top of the other. So all of our little sequins and glitters are sandwiched on the inside. Now I think this works really nice to have a flat window like this with the sequins in between, but you could always add some fun foam or dimensional tape to give it dimension if you want to. So now remember this white frame that we cut earlier on? I'm going to put this on top of our acetate pieces so we can hide them. You could leave it if you want to, but I just thought it would look nicer if we have a nice white finish frame on the inside of our card. So I'm just going to put this down right on top of the others. And now we have a shaker window. And you can see that all the pieces inside still do move around, but what's nice is they don't all fall to the bottom and we don't have a huge amount of bulk. Now we need a place to write our sentiment on the inside because you can see through the front of the card. So I've cut a top folding white note card that is 4 by 5 1/4, the same as the white frame over on the left, so it matches up nicely. I'm going to actually glue this into the inside of our card. That way the person opens up the card and then flips this open and we can have a message on the inside. Now, if you didn't want to see through that shaker window, you could have just put regular cardstock on the back side of the shaker window instead of the second piece of acetate. But I kind of like that you can completely see through it. It'd be fun to put a pattern paper in here or something else on the inside, but I just decided to keep it nice and white. Now, I did decide I wanted to add a few things to the window on the front. So I took, you can see my remainder of that double-sided tape covered fun foam from before. You can see it up on the top left. From the remaining area, I die cut a bunch of little stars. So these are white foam stars with adhesive on both sides. Then I die cut some gold glitter paper stars to put on top of those. So these little stars are kind of scattered on the front of the card and they match the sparkle die cut that we've covered with the gold glitter paper also. Now I think there's enough inside that I didn't have to do this. You could skip that part if you want to, but I had all that leftover double-sided foam, so I thought it was worthwhile to put it to use. And you can see now we have a shaker card with very little bulk. Now I wanted to show you that I used the remainder pieces from that I showed you earlier on a second card. So you can see the frame that I created there that was left over. I did the same thing with the shine die cut and the little stars, so they have the foam behind them, so there's some dimension. I wanted to pop this piece off the front of a card, so I cut a big piece of white foam that I'm going to glue to the back. Instead of using foam tape, it's nice to have a nice solid raised area behind it. Now this is a black shimmer card where I used that dotted frame die that I showed you earlier to give it a finishing touch. I'm just gluing this to the center, and I love these shimmer papers. I just think they're beautiful. I also decided to add a few little Hero Arts gems in here and there just for some added shine. So there's a way you can use some of your leftovers and while you have everything out to create a second card. So there are lots of ideas and tips kind of squashed together in this video. Ways you can add some dimension to your die cuts, ways to create a shaker card without bulk, and also how to put a card inside of a card so you have room to write your message. If you're interested in the products that I talk about here, they're all linked below in my YouTube description, or you can head over to my blog at jennifermcguireinc.com where I'll have much more information. I hope you all have a wonderful new year, and we'll see you again soon.